Rasuke here, salutations, and talking about Godfall as it has appeared out of nowhere on PlayStation 4, on the PlayStation Gold or whatever it's called, and here's the Challengers Edition here that you're seeing. This is what I played. I downloaded, didn't spend any money for it whatsoever. But this is the edition that they've released. Get this. This game was $70 when it first released. And now look at it. It's gotten really bad reviews. I always wondered about it. When it first came out, this was one of the first games I even considered getting if I was going to get a PlayStation 5. In fact, I was very tempted. But as I kept seeing trailers like this, it discouraged me. And the biggest thing I got to say about Godfall is, where is the jump button? There's no jumping in Godfall. Now, you have moves that jump, but there is no jumping in Godfall at all. No jumping. I know that sounds weird, but it is... First of all, I really want to say that it is a beautiful looking game. Clearly, they had a budget, but the focus seems so basic. I hate to say that, but it really is true. You only are in these small arenas, very linear, and you just fight. Endless loot. Loot is everywhere. In fact, it vomits up loot all the time. Now that I've gotten my hands on it, I would have to say the combat is what's the word? It works. It's usable. Like, look at these backgrounds. It's gorgeous. It really is beautiful. But the weird thing about Godfall is that there are no cities, no townspeople. I know they're probably trying to copy off of Warframe, which is a PC game. No, it was on PlayStation before. But the difference with Warframe is that there's a jump button. And you could parkour. There are ninjas. I know these are knights. But you're supposed to get these different Valor plates that do different things. And we'll show a video that kind of shows that. But there's really not a big difference other than some stats. It's your weapons that really determine more about how you fight. And I believe every character can use every weapon, which kind of defeats the purpose. You just pick the armor that you personally like aesthetically. And I believe every character can use dual swords, can use staves, hammers, as you see there, spears, and that's it. You just get more. Like, one sword will do 10%, another sword will do 15%, another sword will do 20%, another sword will do 30%, another sword will do 45%, another sword will do 60% more damage. Until you get up to Legendary where, I don't know, it's doing 70%. I really don't know. I've played the game for about 4 hours. And guess what? I was liking some of it, but it still feels weird to not be able to jump. When, even if you think it's a stupid tactic, jumping has always been a part of a hack and slash game or a beat 'em up game. It just seems weird that it's not included. But the world building, the lore, everything is so bland. I mean, you have these knights. I don't even feel like they're people inside. They're just these automatons that are just walking around and aren't doing anything. I mean, I tell you, man, it is the most basic and linear of maps. No exploration. I don't even think you open up a door. You open up chests, yes, but where's the city? It's supposed to be brother on brother fighting. One brother wants to be a god, the other one is stopping him. And what you see is what you get, meaning you don't upgrade your armor in a way of like an RPG. You're already there. You just give different colors. And what you're seeing there, that's God mode. That's godlike armor. Those swords flying out. The effects are more like you poison, you do extra ice damage, electricity damage. Some of it is fairly big, but it is not on the level of a god. I mean, I expected with the name called GodFall to see over the top moves. Instead, we get these. This is what you're going to be spending a good majority of your time when you're not hacking and slashing. And you can almost button mash, believe it or not, almost. But you will be staring at swords and spears and axes over and over and over and over and over again. And trying to figure out which ones work with these enemies, that enemies. But also, too, your Valor plates, do certain things, mitigate damage, but you also have charms and things that you could add on to your armor. I found it really disappointing that the armor that you get is that's it. You just get like accessories, but you don't see them on the character, like rings and charms and ornamental things. But this is where you're going to spend most of your time. In the stats, look at how detailed this is. I just want pure action, believe it or not. I don't mind some RPG aspects, but this is just over the top, and I don't have time to go through menu after menu and micromanage all of these weapons that basically come down to nothing as far as me feeling invested in the game. Sometimes you can have too much loot, you can have too much characters. And here's a DLC that they recently, I guess, came out, and it looks really good. So I want you to check this out, and then we'll close it out. But it's really weird that there is no jump button. I am super surprised about that. But check this new trailer out and tell me what you think.
For 1,000 years we've extinguished one fire, only to watch another light.
The day of your sacrifice has come. We are the keepers of eternal night, the ones who walk in the twilight before death.
There is no light without darkness. There must be virtue somewhere in all this destruction.
No good comes from fire and blood.
You're the first to seek my destruction. The path before you holds only the cold void of death. You cannot stop the inevitable. An age of darkness is coming.
Let us hunt the darkness.
This one's mine.
The death of a mortal means nothing to the gods.
I know a god. You're not one.
So let me tell you, man, that trailer is actually really good. I mean, it gets you all amped up. In fact, it excites me. Like, the voice quality is really good. And it sounds like it's got much more story. But, it's good that they're supporting the game. Maybe it's because Gearbox is behind the publishing, so they're still giving content out. But this game was $70 without a jump button. I don't care if it was $20. It doesn't have a jump button and a hack and slash. It's weird. We have Call of Duty games. We've got, I think a game that it very much mirrors is Warframe. And I know they're ninjas, these are knights, but with all of the different Valor plates and them having different, for example, elemental powers or animalistic powers, none of them can jump. Now, their attacks make them kind of jump, or they leap forward, or something like that, but you cannot physically jump at all. So if there's a little barrier in front of you, if there's a step, if there's no orb to transfer you up there, you can't get up there. You can't climb up anything. There's no doors to open. There's no towns to visit. There are no people to visit. There is some kind of like I guess, merchant wizard, but he's at your hub. But there's nothing else to explore outside of just hack and slashing. And by the way, you can button mash. I've done that. My stamina never ran out within my 4 hours of gameplay. I was just hitting the same button. Now, the enemies can have attacks that will break up your quick attack and things like that. But it just seems like a real missed opportunity because the production values are so incredible. Great design, great weapons, but once again, the weapons don't mean anything to me personally because it says it in the trailer, endless loot. And so now you've got a weapon that used to do, 5 damage. Now you found a new one that does 10. Then the next one you find does 50. Then you're at 100. But then all they do is change the balance of that. Now your 100 looks like 5, right? Then you just keep going back up. So you go up to 500. Then your 500 can look like 5 damage because they just increase all the enemies to have 10,000 instead of having 1,000 or 5,000 life. Now they're 10,000 life, 20,000 life, and it's just playing with numbers. That's your loot. That static screen, that is the game. The game is just numbers getting higher, weapons. You don't get any new moves as far as the weapons as I know, but I will say that the combat actually feels pretty good. The heavier weapons feel heavier, but all the characters can use any weapon. So choosing a Valor play comes down to really only two decisions. Do you want to look like that? And number 2, do you like their little special or super, which for a game called GodFall, I expected some over-the-topness. I mean, Warframe does it better. I would even say, I thought this game would be like a Dynasty Warriors, but Dynasty Warrior characters are stronger than GodFall characters. Yes, they are. The maps are bigger, they destroy much more enemies, and when they do a move, it is on a God level. You know what I mean? Something that simple. Monster Hunter, right? They are attacking giant monsters. You would think something like Godfall, they would have the same kind of power and same kind of thing in the game. Maybe add it later, but no. Dauntless, which actually deals with like monsters. I feel more powerful in that and much more neat than that than I do Godfall. And there's much more lore in Dauntless. That's a much more exciting game, much more dynamic. And get this, all the characters cannot equip everything. You pick a particular type and you have access to different moves and things like that. But they also have a lot of loot as well, but it goes towards a particular class. Anyway, I think I've made my point that this game, Godfall, is, if you like games where you just button mash and it looks extremely well, and I guess that's about it, then this is the game for you. Because story-wise, your brother is evil, he's trying to become a god, and you get these other Valor plates, and you just button mash through his whole army, but you're in the most basic linear maps I have ever seen. I mean, I've seen better ones on PlayStation 1, I hate to say that, and Xbox One, but I really found it weird that there's not more dynamic maps or things to do in a game such as this, especially with the name Godfall. So anyway, thanks for checking this out. If you've played it or downloaded it, let me know. Tell me what your experience is for Godfall. I particularly love fantasy games, especially like this. So this has been quite an eye-opener, especially since I didn't spend one penny for this. And I'm going to say this. I am going to keep it for a while. There are some things I kind of like about it, but one day I know for sure I'm not going to like it anymore, and I'm going to delete it. So they will not be converting me to sales, unfortunately, especially when there's no jump button. Thanks for listening. This is Wasuke.